Hi everybody, my name is Danielle Nicole and welcome to Monetary Makeup. So I was shopping at Ulta the other day and I have been on the hunt for a new dewy lightweight summer foundation. And I haven't really seen any brand new foundations that I haven't already reviewed, and I happened to come across Estee Lauder. So I have two different foundations from Estee Lauder. The first is the Double Wear Sheer Longwear Makeup Broad Spectrum SPF 19, and the other is their Futurist Hydra Rescue SPF 45. Now, I originally was just going to test these two foundations off camera because they aren't brand new, but then I thought, why don't I share this experience with you all for a Throwback Thursday? And while I test out these two Estee Lauder foundations, for the topic of the day, I thought we could do something a little bit different today and just have a little chat about some of the topics within the beauty community that get me a little bit riled up. So if you enjoyed today's Throwback Thursday video, don't forget to hit the like button, the notification bell, and let's get started right now. Alright, so to prime the skin, I'm going to use one of my favorite new bronzing drops that I recently reviewed. These are called the Calorie Just Add Raise Glow Boosting Drops. Alright, I just clipped my bangs back. I know it looks super funny, but I needed to clip them back in order to apply these drops. Now, in case you missed the review of these bronzing drops, I have really been enjoying these. They don't really provide a ton of bronzing effect, but I really like how they look on the skin. Oh my gosh, you guys, I just had a slight heart attack. I forgot that I did my brows. I usually don't do them first, and I probably just completely messed them up. Alright, so in case you're new, I'm in my mid-30s and I have oily, dehydrated, acne-prone skin, and I'm also starting to get fine lines and have a little bit of sensitivity, so you name it, I pretty much have it. So first, let's go over a couple of quick details about these two foundations. So the first foundation is called the Futurist Hydra Rescue, and it has SPF 45. Now you get 1.2 fluid ounces or 35 mils, and I will put the price up on the screen, and the shade I picked up is called 1C1 Cool Bone. Now I'm not going to go into too many details about these foundations, but in case you haven't tried this out, just like me, this one is supposed to have a medium to full coverage and leave a fresh, dewy, hydrating finish. The next product is the Estee Lauder Double Wear Sheer Longwear SPF 19. Now again, I will put the price up on the screen, and you get 1 fluid ounce or 30 mils, and I picked up the same shade, 1C1 Cool Bone. Alright, it is swatch time, so let's see if these shades do end up looking the same since they are the same 1C1 Cool Bone shade. So the first swatch right here is the Futurist Hydra Rescue, and the second swatch right here is the Sheer Double Wear. Now, I'm actually pretty impressed with these swatches. Typically, when you purchase the same shade in two different foundations, usually they are pretty different, I often find. However, I do think these look pretty similar. I would say the tint is ever so slightly just a little bit darker, but not by much. Now, the packaging is quite different. So the Sheer Double Wear is in a traditional bottle, just like this, and then the Futurist Hydra Rescue is in a pump. So I'm thinking let's do the Sheer Double Wear on my left side and then the Futurist on my right. I wish this bottle had a pump as well because it was just sitting here, and as you can see, there is some product spilling over, so I just much prefer a pump. So because this formula is quite runny, I am going to put a little bit on the back of my sponge. Now I know I am going to lose coverage by using a damp sponge, but I do have quite dehydrated skin, so I just find this is my preferred method for application. So if I lose a little bit of coverage, I'm okay with building it up. I don't believe it has a scent, so that's good. Alright, so this is blending out very quick, and I do find it has more coverage than sheer. I would say it's more on the light side, so a little bit definitely does go a long way. You guys, I've had this breakout on my chin. It just wants to hang around. I think it's going to stay with me for a couple of months. Now, I'm not going to cover that with the foundation. I will do that with a separate tool. I'm just kind of germophobic like that, so I will do that in a minute. Now, I'm quite shocked, you guys. I feel like this is looking amazing, and I love the fact it's more than sheer coverage. I was expecting it to be sheer, but what do you guys think? No foundation? Sheer Double Wear. We'll get into the topics in just a second here, but I do want to mention before I forget, I get a lot of dehydration around my nose and mouth area, and this is not emphasizing any of those dry patches whatsoever. And I would say this is probably a dewy to satin finish. I don't feel like it's super dewy. I don't think it's too shiny or anything like that, but it's definitely not a matte finish, at least so far. All right, I'm so excited how this is looking on the skin. I know I just mentioned that it's not emphasizing any of my dehydration, but that is such an issue that I run into with so many foundations, even skin tints. And the fact that it's not overly dewy is pretty surprising to me, because usually when foundations don't emphasize any of my dry patches, usually they are so overly dewy, which is why you can't see the dry patches, but it's almost like a satin slightly dewy finish. But what do you guys think? All right, next let's get started with the Futurist Hydra Rescue SPF 45. You know, I'm pretty impressed that this has an SPF 45. Typically, I find many are SPF 30 or under, so this has decent SPF in it. Now, I personally actually don't prefer SPF in my base products, and that's just because I have such sensitive acne-prone skin. So if any of you out there also suffer with adult acne, I will definitely let you know in the comments if either of these foundations break me out. All right, going to pump out just a little bit because this one is supposed to have more medium to full coverage. Although I was pretty surprised that when I did the swatches, it did feel pretty runny. So I'm not really sure what to expect with this one, but just starting off with a little bit. All right, let me just get some of this blended in, and then we will start talking about some of those fun topics. This is blending in really nice too. Not noticing a fragrance with this one either. All right, well, both of these blended out really quick. Now, what's interesting, you guys, is I have not really had much luck with Estee Lauder foundations in the past. I have found that the lightest shade, at least the lightest cool shade, 1C1 Cool Bone, in the past, it has been too deep and almost too orange for me, but I feel like both of these shades are perfect matches. What do you guys think about the shade? I don't feel like you'd be able to tell that I was wearing foundation as far as the shade goes. So the first thing that I'm noticing is, of course, there's definitely more coverage on the Futurist Hydra side. Now, I didn't use a ton of products, so I would say I got more of a medium finish. I could definitely see this building up to a full coverage foundation for sure, but just for today, I really just wanted to keep it light. Now, the other thing I'm noticing, neither of these are emphasizing any texture, and they sit really nice on the skin, and I don't feel like they're sitting on top of the skin like many foundations can do. I feel like they both really sunk in, and they're not emphasizing any of my pores, any of my dehydration, or any of my texture. All right, let me just do a little bit of spot concealing, and then I will show you my skin up close in just a second. All right, you guys, so I just finished blending out the Double Wear Sheer and the Futurist Hydra, and I just wanted to show you what my skin is looking like now. Now, I did not use any concealer to spot conceal that spot on my chin. I just took a little dab of the Futurist Hydra Rescue, and I feel like that did a great job at covering the spot up. I don't feel like you would be able to see it unless you were super up close, of course. Now, what I will say, now that it's had a few minutes to sink into the skin, I think both sides look incredible. The sheer side, it definitely provides more coverage, as I mentioned, than I was expecting. However, you can definitely tell that I have less redness on this side, and that's just because this foundation claims to have a more medium to full coverage. So I would definitely agree with those claims. Now, what's interesting, I don't know if it's because I have a little bit of dehydration, but I don't feel like either of these foundations are sitting super dewy and overly glowy, which is kind of what I was expecting. Not that that's a bad thing, but that's just what I'm noticing. So what do you guys think? Futurist Hydra Sheer Double Wear. Now, the last thing that I am noticing is I always mention that I get a ton of dehydration in the nose area and sometimes around my chin. Now, other than the spot on my chin right now, I don't really have much dehydration in that area. but I almost always do in the nose creases. I don't know what it is. I use a ton of moisturizer, all of that good stuff, but it's just always dehydrated in that area. But if you look close, you can see a little bit of emphasis on those dry patches. Now it's very, very minimal, but now that I'm looking at my skin, I'm definitely noticing it on this side, but I am not noticing it on the sheer side. So here's what we are going to do just for funsies. I want to build up this side just a little bit, not a ton, because I do quite like how the sheer is looking, but I just want to see if we can build it up just a little bit more. Look at my bangs, it looks so funny. So I'm not going to use a lot, but just want to put a little bit more on the sponge. So just basically a dab. And let's just see if we can build this up where I have some of that excess redness. Yeah, this is not emphasizing those dry patches at all, you guys, even after being built up. I'm so excited. I feel like both sides look great, but let me know as of right now, what side do you guys like better? All right, well, I am so excited at how my skin is looking. You guys, I haven't been this excited about a base product since I tested out the Danessa Myricks Balm Powders. All right, I am going to do just a little bit of spot concealing with my Shop Miss A AOA Studio Secret Concealer. I reviewed these a couple months back and they work amazing for spot concealing. So while I do this, let's have a little chat about certain topics in the beauty space. All right, so the first topic I want to discuss is clean beauty. Now, here's the thing. I am someone who has a lot of different skin concerns. Oily, dehydrated, acne prone, sensitive. I just have a lot of different skin concerns. So that said, I do appreciate ingredients that are good for your skin. But the issue I have with clean beauty is basically how it's marketed, because there's really no backup to the claims for clean beauty. So really anyone can slap on clean beauty onto any of their products. And in my opinion, it just seems like a marketing scheme and a little bit of fear-mongering for certain ingredients. Now, even like fragrance. Now, I personally don't mind fragrance in my products as long as it's not too overpowering and as long as it dissipates, you know, nothing crazy. I personally don't mind fragrance. You guys are gonna have to let me know if you just can't stand it and it's a total pass for you. And that's okay, that's fine. We all have different skin concerns. But I feel like over the last couple of years, fragrance and clean beauty has just really been kind of the newest, latest, and greatest marketing scheme. Now, not that all of it is a scheme, of course, but I guess what I'm trying to say is just I feel like how it's marketed is a little bit misleading. Now, and what's interesting is it seems like with a lot of these brands that claim to have clean beauty products, they really emphasize what is not in their ingredients, but they don't really emphasize too much for what's in their ingredients. And I guess the one that really gets me is preservatives, because I feel like preservatives have definitely been marketed as something that you don't want in any of your makeup, any of your skincare. Now, I'm not an esthetician, so I'm not qualified. This is just my opinion on all of these topics. But it would appear that you need preservatives in your products to keep them from going bad, right? So that's one that just really gets me about clean beauty, is making it seem like preservatives are just the most terrible thing. Any sort of fragrance is terrible for your skin. Now, if that is the case, if it's something that you react to, you don't like, that's absolutely fine. But it really just goes back to how it's marketed. And as I keep mentioning, it just seems to be a little bit misleading at times. So whenever I hear a product claimed to be clean or a clean beauty brand, I just do a little bit of extra research. I don't just rely on that claim, since there are no, legal claims to back up being a clean brand. Just see if there is anything that jumps out at me. And it almost feels like when brands market clean beauty, it almost seems like they're saying, don't worry about checking any of our ingredient lists, just trust us. You don't need to worry about any products in our makeup. And that kind of goes hand in hand with fragrance that I believe I just mentioned a second ago. I feel like fragrance has become the new thing that if there is any sort of fragrance in any product, it is just immediately canceled by so many. Now again, if that is something that your skin doesn't handle, doesn't like, nothing wrong with that. But I don't like fear-mongering, and I feel like a lot of that relates to fragrance. So as I mentioned earlier, I am someone that actually likes fragrance in my products, and I don't find my skin really reacts to much fragrance. I mean, I've been using products now for, about 30 years, and I haven't really ever had an issue as long as it's not fragrance that is so overly saturated that it doesn't dissipate after you apply it. All right, didn't really have to do too much spot concealing today, so that is always super exciting. If any of you suffer with breakouts, when you wake up and you don't have a full face of blemishes, it's like, hooray, I'm going to have a good skin day. So that's how I feel, other than that spot on my chin. Okay, so the next topic that I want to talk about with you all, so definitely leave your comments down below. And if you don't agree with me, that is absolutely fine. I always mention we're all different. We all have different skin concerns. But anyways, the next topic I want to talk about is eco-friendly and refillable packages or cartridges. So here's the thing. I am all for trying to save the planet. If there is anything we can do to create less waste, I'm 100% on board with that. But the issue that really gets me with most brands that sell refillable cartridges, refillable anything, is that I find their prices for the cartridges, they're usually only a couple of bucks left. So I feel like they're not lowering the price enough to justify the lack of packaging. Now, I'm not a manufacturer, so if any of you are aware of that, definitely let me know if I am incorrect on this. Definitely open to learning more about it. But I just also have to be realistic, and I guess I would hope that brands would be realistic as well. Because if you're only lowering the cost a couple of dollars, how many people are actually going to buy the refillables instead of just purchasing the original with the packaging? So I don't know, you guys. I just feel like if it is a refillable cartridge or anything refillable, I feel like the price should be, I don't want to say substantially lower, because of course you still need to, keep in mind for the cost of everything else. But overall, I just think they could lower the prices on those a little bit more. This is the Fenty Eye Primer, you guys. I've actually really been enjoying this. It has a slight amount of coverage, not a ton, just a little bit, but it leaves a nice tacky base and it really blends in well. And because my eyes are oily, they also, of course, get dehydrated a little bit, especially on the inner corner. So some eye primers are too matte and they really emphasize that dryness, but this primer kind of combats both oiliness and dryness all in one. Okay, so the last thing that really bothers me about the beauty industry, and I'm not trying to be negative here, I absolutely love YouTube, I love chatting with you all, I love everything, well, almost everything about the beauty community and beauty space, but the one thing I have to say that really irks me is when brands push FOMO. Back in the day, a lot of brands would release limited edition products only once a year. If that, it was pretty rare. Now, here's the thing. If brands want to release limited edition products, that's fine. That is their prerogative. It's America, of course, so they can do whatever they want. But the issue I have, aside from FOMO and everyone feeling like they have to have the latest and greatest of everything that is put out, which is just insane because there is so many new products that are pushed out every single day. But the issue I have is when brands put out products and they say they are limited edition, and then they end up adding them to their permanent line. Now, there's a caveat or a catch-22 to that, because I know sometimes if they release limited edition products and they do extremely well, get a lot of positive feedback, then it makes sense, of course, to add that to their permanent line. But there are certain brands in particular that constantly release limited edition products, and then sure enough, a couple of weeks later, it is then added to their permanent line. So that's when it really irks me, is when it's something that a brand does consistently, because that ties into the FOMO, you know, fear of missing out. You feel like this is a product you absolutely have to have, you need to purchase it right now, it's now or never, and then sure enough, a couple of weeks later, it's in their permanent line. So I don't like this push for everybody needs to have every single new product. Now, of course, you might be wondering, well, you're on YouTube, you review a lot of new products. And that's true, but that's because I do this for a hobby and I like to test out new products, and it's just something that I personally enjoy. But I never want anyone to ever feel like, especially on this channel, that they need to have products that I absolutely love. But anyways, those were just a couple of topics that have really been on my mind. Definitely leave all of your thoughts down below, because I would love to continue this conversation with you all. All right, you guys, well, that was just a couple of thoughts that I had. Now, I do have to say, I'm just looking in the monitor right now. I am loving how my skin is looking at this point. So I am going to finish up the rest of my makeup, and then I will see you back here at the end of the night for my final thoughts and the wear test. Hi everybody, I just got home from work, and these foundations have been on now for over 6 hours. So before I get into my final thoughts, let me first show you what my skin is looking like. So as you can see, I did apply a little bit of makeup. In case you're wondering what I used on the cheeks, I am going to be posting a review of the new Mario Skin Enhancer soon. So that is one of the products I used today. So I have to say, I feel like both sides look amazing. The one thing that I'm noticing now that I did notice when I first applied these two different foundations is I feel like this side just looks a little bit smoother, especially the areas that I have a little bit of dry patches. Whereas on this side, I'm noticing just a little bit of clinging and cakiness. Not a ton, it's hardly anything to note, but I always like to be really thorough in my reviews, so I am noticing just a little bit of clinging in this area. So before I give you my final thoughts, let me know what you guys think. Double Wear Sheer, Hydra Futurist. You guys, I am absolutely floored at how beautiful these foundations worked. I really do enjoy both of them. However, if I had to pick a favorite, it would be the Double Wear Sheer. Now, I do think this Futurist Hydra foundation is a beautiful one. However, I do feel like the sheer one provided enough coverage for me to be comfortable with my oily, dehydrated, acne-prone skin, but it also did not cling onto any dry patches. So in case you were curious like me and you had to pick one over the other, if you have any sort of texture, if you have oily, dehydrated, or acne-prone skin like me, then I would definitely recommend Double Wear Sheer. Alright, well, I do hope you all enjoyed today's video, as well as this little battle between the two Estee Lauder foundations. If you did enjoy the video, please don't forget to give it a big thumbs up. Thank you so much for watching and spending your time with me, and I look forward to seeing you in my next video. Bye, guys!